It's me, Kayla Engelman, your fantasy girl, here to take you on my fantasy football journey this season as I try to win my league and prove that no one knows anything at all whatsoever about this game like they pretend to, and appearing so is just say it with me, fantasy. Well, I'm sorry that I missed this episode last week. I was sick, so I figured let me just walk through a couple of minutes of me setting my lineup by myself without anybody interfering. Also, next week is week 5, which, as we've established through Andrew, is panic week. I also heard this separately from my brother-in-law that this is panic week, so I don't know if this is a thing that I just don't know about. Actually, let's look it up. Wow, I love being on here by myself. No one to answer to. Okay, so this isn't a thing. Either my brother-in-law listens to my podcast or it's already a thing. It's probably the first. Let's do a quick little recap of what happened last week. I put Kirk Cousins back in and he got 30 points and I was so pleased. He's now my new QB and I'm realizing that maybe Andrew was right. Maybe now I am free to win the league now that I'm not shackled to Patrick Mahomes. Even though I would never consider myself shackled to him, it would be a blessing to be handcuffed to him. Like in those old sitcoms where someone was handcuffed to someone else. It's like, okay, that was never, ever going to happen. Why are so many people getting handcuffed to their friends on TV? I think if someone was handcuffed to me, they would actually die. Not because I would kill them, but because they would probably end it themselves. So anyway, thank you for listening to this podcast episode where it's just me talking to you. One-on-one. Mano-y-mano. By the way, how was your day? I don't ask that enough. All right, back to brass tacks. So last week, I won against Matt in a landslide. And it's funny because my team name is, as we all know, Mommy's Big Spanking. And his team was the Littlest Babies. So it was a weird meshing of team names. I had Raheem Mostert in that historic Dolphins win 70-20. And he got 45 points just by himself. And I won by 45 points. Thank God I didn't give Raheem Mostert to Andrew. That is his comeuppance for disrespecting me so much on Spotify radio or whatever this is. Now this week, I'm up against Tyler. And Tyler has won multiple years of our league. However, he lost last year. He came in dead last. He lost the loser's bracket in the playoffs. And the projections say that I'm supposed to win 53% to his 47%. But the projections are always wrong. I don't trust the projections at all. So right now I have in bad boy Alvin Kamara, who is off his suspension for being a very bad boy, but I'm going to flex him because running backs do get a lot of points. This is probably the most controversial thing I've done besides consider Deshaun Watson. But I guess my bed was made when I drafted Alvin Kamara. I just remember he was my best player in 2019. And so every year after that, who's ever had him has done really well. And I'm like, fuck, if there's one rule to fantasy football, it's draft Alvin Kamara. But this is the year that I drafted him when he's in trouble. So now he's back and I put him in. I've got Kirk Cousins, Tony Pollard, Raheem Mostert, Stephon Diggs, Calvin Ridley, George Kittle, the Seahawks defense, and Harrison Butker. I have a star-studded lineup. On my bench, I have Christian Kirk, Jerry Jeudy, KJ Osborne, Joshua Kelly, Jared Goff, a couple other people. But it's like, I have great options. I feel really good. So why is next week panic week? And that's the thing about me. Like, can you hear in my voice how much calmer I am than last week? When I'm coming off a win, a landslide win, I'm like, oh, I have nothing to worry about. So in each league, there are 2 divisions like East and West, but your commissioner can name them whatever they want to name them. In my division, Allie is first. She's 3-0. And in the other division, Z-Wack is first, and he's 3-0. So really, Allie and Z-Wack are at the top of our league, and I'm 2-1. A couple of people are 2-1. If I win this week, I'll be 3-1, and then I'll really be setting a good margin between me and some of these other clowns. And then I guess that's why week 5 is panic week. But I feel like I have really good players. I haven't been part of this injury bloodbath. It's probably bad to look at the league in terms of the whole season just by sitting here in week 4. But as I go into this Sunday, I'm pretty confident in my players. So I feel confident, which is scary. Also, if I win this week, I'll feel pretty good about it because I'm going off of my own advice. Clearly, the Minisode, all about me. I'm playing this week entirely with just me, God, and my psyche in a game of Chinese checkers. And I feel like, okay, this is going to be good. All I have to do is follow my gut, always. That's what I'm trying to prove with this podcast anyway. Trust your gut. And I still don't, which is why I'm in therapy. BetterHelp is a platform, just kidding, but really, if you need therapy, BetterHelp's a great place. They'll sell your data, but everyone already knows all my bullshit anyway. So for anyone who's here, who's looking for actual fantasy advice, now I have the time to tell you how I actually do it. Each week, what I do is I go into my lineup and first I see who's injured and if I need to replace them. Then if you have players who are like kind of on the fence, who are like either good or bad depending on the week, if you're on the ESPN Fantasy app, you can go and click on their name, the little newspaper icon that's next to their name in red when there's new news about them, and you can read their outlook. And that's some fantasy expert telling you what they think is going to happen. You can also just Google their name and it will tell you what they think is going to happen, like DeAndre Swift fantasy football. What I also like to do is I go on the Sleeper app, which I won't shut up about, and I look at the fantasy football news to see who's injured, and they'll even tell you who's likely to play and who's not likely to play, even if they haven't called it yet, which helps me prepare mentally. I also like to look at the waiver wire in my league to see who other people have dropped, because maybe there's a player that I had my eye on that is now available because some person was an idiot and dropped them. I also like to maybe change my defense depending on how they did the week before, or if they're facing a really good offense, I'll change it. So far, the Seahawks, I don't remember who they're playing this week, but they're playing someone shitty, so I'm like, I'll keep them in. Oh yeah, the Giants, the New York Giants, who took 2 weeks to score any points. That's why I kept them in. And if you're really stuck, what you can do is go to Google and you type in, should I put in Kirk Cousins or Patrick Mahomes? And you'll click enter and it'll have this like dial that comes up on this website. It's the first result. I don't even know the name of it. And it'll be like, you should definitely put in Patrick Mahomes. Or you can even put in 3 people, and then you can go and scroll down and there's 100 experts and it will show you which expert said you should put this person in and which expert said you shouldn't put this person in. This is if you're like really struggling. But as we've learned, you shouldn't tinker. Trust your gut. Honestly, you should just try a week where you look at it, don't look at any information, and be like, I'm feeling Stephon Diggs this week. Another thing you can do is you can go to the Sleeper app, yes, again, the Sleeper app, and you can look at who's injured, even if they're not on your team, and see if their backup is available. If it's a star like Austin Eckler, then yeah, you got to pick up their backup, because now there's a huge hole in their offense that they're going to have to fill with somebody, and that somebody is going to get all their points. I know this is a lot of work, so it really is okay if you just wing it. But do you want to win? So those are my tips and tricks that I had to garner and sift through over 4 years of boys being like, oh, well, what you gotta do is blah, blah, blah. Well, these are the blah, blah, blahs that I've picked up that I had to sit through for you. So you're welcome, and donations accepted. And I could just imagine myself in 1 week, if I lose because of some stupid decision I made, being up in absolute arms about it. We'll see what happens. I'm really hoping for a win, and I'm hoping that those tips help you and help me. All right. That's how my therapist ends our sessions. All right. We're getting to the end zone here. So thank you for being part of my fantasy, and I'll see you in week 5. Ah!